Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello and welcome to episode 63 of Mythos Busters. I'm Sean. Joining me tonight, as we've got a half crew. It's me, and it's Ian. Hey Ian.
Hello.
You ready to be the Laurel to my Hardy?
Sure. I don't
Wait,
remember
hang on. Am I the Hardy to your Laurel? I think I might be the Hardy to your Laurel, but I'm not qualified to make that judgment.
Sure.
I might be a little bit too close to it.
We got those cutting edge pop culture references going, so off to a great start.
That's right, kids.
Have you seen those speaking pictures?
Wind up your car and take your best gal to the talkie. Okay, so tonight we've got a fun episode for you. We've got some really fun news. We're going to catch... so actually news isn't going to come first. This is completely deceiving. First thing we're going to do is our normal check-in. We're going to conclude our next Orbits contest and announce the next one. Mm-hmm. We're going to run over some community stuff. We've got all of our basic show openers, and then we're going to get to some really cool news. And then our discussion topic tonight is a little bit more theoretical, a little bit more just based on hopes for the future. We're going to talk about investigators yet to be released and what we think the game might do with them. And then, of course, we'll round it out with some tentacle time. So, before any of that, Ian, what have you been playing of late?
I've been playing a few things in addition to the normal, I've only played the new scenario Clutches once, but it's really good. Won't spoil anything, but I'm enjoying these last three scenarios of the cycle. Have been really great.
Good.
And then I've been trying out a few different builds, and I feel like my luck, either I'm getting worse as a player or my luck with Arkham has been terrible lately. Because I played Skids and Daisy. I've tried to continue that campaign. I've only gotten one more scenario in Miskatonic Museum, and despite a promising start, it just all fell apart at the end with quite a few unfortunate tentacle draws when it came to fighting the beefed up hunting horror at the end.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's no good.
So they failed in extracurricular and failed in Miskatonic. They were only successful in House Always Wins so far. So not looking
interesting.
Good. Yeah. So that was my first kind of bad run of luck lately.
Okay.
And then
Go on.
The other was I started a new solo campaign of TCU with Ashcan, and I'm really liking some of the. I haven't played Ashcan for a while, so
I was about to say, what's your build with Ashcan? Like, what you got going on?
So I kind of the central thesis of the deck is just getting the most use out of Duke possible. So
bunch of card draw?
Yeah, so I have Drawing Thin, the newest Survivor Hotness, of course, which is kind of a central part of the deck. Inspiring Presence, I think the Guardian skill is called. I even have Trusted in there to bulk up Duke. And the other,
you are spending splash on Trusted. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
And
right.
The other newest hotness card is Guiding Spirit, so that the base intellect, that one has been very, very useful for Ashcan. So it started out promising in the Witching Hour. I got 7 XP, and I was smashing through at Death's Doorstep when I had... You know, the 13th Vision is a basic weakness I don't usually think too much about. I usually think of it as one of the less devastating ones. But I just happened to draw it at a time when I was fighting the boss of that scenario.
Ooh, yeah, that's not when you want to see it.
And no joke, I think every pull I had from then on, except for one, was a tie. It was enraging and frustrating beyond measure. That's what I mean by I don't know what god I insulted that all of a sudden my luck went terrible. And then I took him into Secret Name, and Secret Name did Secret Name things to him. So yeah. So I don't know what's happening.
I.e. shoved 6 billion rats up his ass.
Yeah. And again, it was one of those things where he was got a good momentum going, and it was just certain like combination of like a tentacle here at the worst possible time, a card there. So yeah, it could just be that I'm a bad player, but yeah, it was. I need to do exorcism or something.
I think we've both been doing this long enough to generally recognize when it's a mistake you made versus when the game just decided to get rude.
Yeah. So
like normally we maintain a very cordial rapport with the game, but there are times it decides to just ignore all of that.
Yeah. Ignore all civility and just smash your face in.
Oh, you were hoping for a skull, weren't you, Tentacle?
I just can't get over how every pull was a tie after I drew 13th Vision. It was so ridiculous. Oh, I know what took me down, Skids and Daisy. It was I drew 2. I can't remember. I think it's Cursed Luck where it's a -1. So double Cursed Luck right when Skids was having to fight the hunting horror at the end. So.
Oh, with 13th Vision at the same location?
13th Vision was with Ashcan. This was
right. Yeah. Different campaign.
Yeah, but it was equally, smashing when Return to Dunwich Legacy, the hunting horror gets way more beefed up, and Skids was meanwhile getting beefed down. I don't know if beefed down is a thing, but it should be.
That encounter set in Miskatonic Museum always felt a little weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about anyone else. It's got like a real gambling theme, but you're being stalked by a monster in a museum, though.
Yeah, it's it's a weird mix of stuff.
But anyway, so I too have been playing Skids and Daisy. We've gotten a couple good little bits of feedback on the Eldritch Adventures of Skids and Daisy. So thanks to those who have. We'll talk about those in a little bit. My own campaign, I'm running through TCU. I'm actually in the middle of the Secret Name at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So last time I mentioned they crushed... Well, they didn't crush. They got through the Witching Hour just fine. At Death's Door was a little bit more of a fight. But I decided halfway through that I just didn't care about cultists at all. And was just trying to get out without any trauma.
Yeah.
And... managed to do so. So the one thing I really have to admit, and this is tough for me. So here we go. I think our Skids deck is way better than our Daisy deck.
I think I might actually be there with you. How much have you been making? I mean, have you upgraded to the worm yet? Vermes Mysterious? Yep. How much use have you been getting out of it?
I haven't played it down once.
Yeah.
I haven't played it down once, Ian!
I know.
It's the whole point of the deck and I haven't even played it!
I played it down once and I didn't use it, and the other games I haven't played it, and it's like the centerpiece of what we built our deck around.
And you know what kills it? It's the action.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are many good insight cards in that deck and a couple decent spells. Well, depending on what you upgrade into. I found Time Warp was like one of the better arguments I could make for Vermes, except it doesn't work with Vermes.
Mm-hmm.
So never mind. That's honestly what I think kills it, is I think Vermes is a really cool concept for a card. I think it got limited too far to actually be useful in the way it's meant to be.
Yeah, and especially with the deck and the combo we have, I just found that I needed Daisy to just keep gathering clues, and I didn't really have time to kind of bother with those shenanigans.
Yeah, there was just nothing compelling. Like, I could have done it.
Mm-hmm.
I probably had the space to play it down, and there were cards in my deck that I could have made use for. But, at the same time, there was nothing pressing enough for me to do that versus the next best thing.
Yeah, and Old Book of Lore was still the MVP tome for me.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's Daisy. It always will be. Like, 3 cost for what that does for a free action. God, it's just so friggin' good. But the decks are completely operable. This is not to put anyone off from trying them out.
Right,
I'm just saying, like, to my surprise, because I'm very, very pro Daisy, to my surprise, Skids has ended up being a much better overall deck because he's pulling his weight in clues just fine. And it is also dealing with most of the enemies.
Yeah. Because we didn't include a ton for Daisy to actually help with combat, so... Yeah.
Mind over matter and storm of spirits, and that's oh, and one I've got a plan. So a little bit,
yeah. But it's mostly the Skid show.
Yeah, they're doing pretty well against the secret name, I have to say. I mean, I'm in the middle of it, so who knows how it's going to go. You know what I've found though? Skids has been like bouncing around the board a little bit with like 1 card in his hand for most of the game, just to be Brown Jenkin bait while Daisy goes around and actually does things. Because you know what? Yeah. If Brown Jenkin hops in and discards the 1 card you have in your hand and you draw a new card, like it's a pretty livable state to maintain as long as you can maintain it. So I feel like that might play into our eventual Iron Man strategy is we just have someone just be the Brown Jenkin tank.
Yep. I can see that.
But we'll see how it goes. I don't know. I'm sure Scott will have thoughts.
Note it down, Scott. Put it in your spreadsheet for Iron Man like a year from now.
Yes. And then, as far as other play goes, Scott and I finally finished mourning the loss of our Forgotten Age campaign, and we decided to concede the loss at City of Archives. The game beat us. Well played. We opened a pocket universe, though, to explore what would have happened had we not gotten absolutely screwed in City of Archives.
As you do.
And as you do. And we managed to pull it out, so we're gonna play the campaign out to the end, and again, just acknowledge that the whole thing's a giant asterisk. So go check that out on our YouTube. And then as well, Ian, you recently revived Abandoned and Alone, yes?
Yep. It was on hiatus for a bit, but brought it back for now the new improved Insomniac edition. I'm doing Abandoned Alone's Thursdays now, late at night, 10:30 my time, which is Pacific, 12:30 Central. So pretty late, so I understand if a lot of people just end up catching it on YouTube, but I did have a few stalwart late night people or just fellow Californians cheering me on. So I'm playing through Return to Dunwich Legacy with Joe Diamond. So I'm really excited for that combo of investigator and campaign, because he's a strong investigator, but Dunwich has like particular knockout punches that could catch Joe Diamond by surprise. So I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit of an up and down campaign. So far the deck building episode is what I've done, so you can catch that video on our YouTube channel. And then next Thursday I will be starting off with extracurricular activity. House always wins. Not extracurricular. I'm going to the club first.
Excellent. All right. Well, so check those out. So moving on from there, let's go ahead and resolve our next Orbits contest. So last time we asked you guys to caption the cover art from the Dream Eater cycle. You guys delivered. So Ian, we're going to run through just kind of some of our select favorites. We're each going to pick 2. And then we're going to do our standard roll of d4 to see who wins the overall prize. So Ian, any ones that struck particularly close to your heart?
One that stood out to me was from Sarah Compton Hall, which was Welcome to the Dreamlands. It's basically Australia. Because the place other than the Dreamlands you'd expect to find a giant spider is Australia, of course. And the other one I really enjoyed was from Chris Maka, which is a riff of Willy Wonka, of course, which is "Come with me and you'll be in a world of existential horror."
Come with me,
And
you'll be
in a world,
in a world of existential horror.
Yep. I grew
So
up
good.
both loving and fearing Willy Wonka, so yeah. Those freaking Oompa Loompas freaked me out so much as a kid.
There's no knowing where we're going. Or the whole scene where like there's like centipedes crawling on lips and chickens getting their freaking heads cut off. God, that movie.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine a Willy Wonka custom scenario for Arkham? Oh man, that would be amazing.
Now I can.
Yeah, I never thought about it till now, but
So a couple of the ones that I thought were pretty funny. One from Kevling. We're gonna need a bigger glass. There were a fair few Charlotte's Web references. But I think probably my favorite one is where'd that go? It's like some pig my ass. But I have to say, my favorites, playing to the crowd, Shadowari92 put in, this is why you don't use astral travel on road trips, which is just a blatant reference to our musical, but it worked, sir. You're in the running.
yep.
And then I think my next favorite one. Yeah, see, I was going to go with Chris's as well with the Willy Wonka reference. But I think I'm going to have to go with... Where'd that one go? Oh, God, that's Chris as well. All right, well, hang on. I got to go. I got to pivot. Yeah, so we'll go with Kevling. We're going to need a bigger glass. I don't know. I just really like the simplicity of the Jaws reference.
Yeah, I did like that one as well.
All right, so your two picks are at 1 and 2.
Okay.
In the order that you picked them, and then I've got Kevling and Shadowari.
Okay.
Alexa, roll a d4.
I rolled a 6-sided die and got 5.
Of course she did.
Helpful.
She rolled
Helpful.
a 5.
She rolled. Why would she not roll a 5? Also, I'm sorry to everyone whose Alexa I just set off.
I choose to believe she was deliberately trolling you right there.
Let's see if Google's any more help. Roll 1d4. We got a 2. So who is your second choice?
My second one that I rolled was Chris Maka with the Willy Wonka reference. So congratulations.
There it is.
Chris.
Okay, well, seems to be fate because we both really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
So thanks, Chris, for entering. We will be in contact with you so you can pick out your prize.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks everyone else who entered. God, that was really fun to read through those.
Yeah.
Like, I know we had to pick a few favorites, but that was just a joy. So thanks everyone for taking the time to write those down.
Yeah, I love caption. We might do more captions. I'm sure we'll do more captions in the future.
I mean, they're just so easy.
Yeah.
On for all sides involved.
Agreed.
All right, Ian. So this next contest for Arbit's contest number 4 is your brainchild. So lay it on us.
Yeah, so maybe not as painless as coming up with a caption, but I think it's fun to kind of vary the kinds of challenges we're giving people for these contests, so that if, hey, you're not good at roasting people, maybe you're good at deck building, which is what the next contest is all about. So your challenge, if you choose to accept it, is to take a card that is generally regarded as being pretty terrible. So you can think about cards like Kukri and Blackjack and what other cards?
Except maybe not those two. Who knows, though?
Sure. It doesn't have to be those two. It could be other cards that are generally seen as bad. Joey the Rat, maybe.
Seeking the truth.
Yeah. So take that card. You're going to build a deck based around that card. The only stipulation is, obviously, it includes that card, but I'm not stipulating any particular investigators or anything like that. And what you need to do is you can either, if you don't have time to build a whole deck, you can just send a description of kind of your general idea of what you want the deck to do and maybe a few key cards. Send that to our email, mythosbustersPod@gmail.com. Or if you're up to just building the whole deck, you can send me the deck list, either just like text or a link to ArkhamDB works fine. Just email me that link to our email address, and we will, as we have been doing, select our favorites and kind of select one randomly from there.
And that is mythosbusterspod@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. So, I did want to say that I don't think any of us are necessarily going to be like running through and saying, what is the most powerful of these decks? It's going to be more about just like the creativity.
The audacity of the idea.
Exactly. Like, and your description might play a part too and how creative it is. So all those things, like, just have fun with it.
Yes, please. Always. The point of every single one of our contests is to have fun.
Yeah.
So please do that first and foremost.
So don't stress too much about like maximum cost curve and efficiency and all that. Just have fun with it.
Perfect. Excellent. Ian, what patron news have we?
Okay, before we do have one question in the chat, which is a good one. Any XP conditions? I was imagining personally a level 0 deck, but I'm gonna say if you have some like fun combo idea, sure, throw some XP in there. I don't think I'm gonna put any XP conditions on there.
No restrictions whatsoever.
Yeah, just let your imagination run wild. All right, Patreon business. So first off, as always, thanks to our 13 board members: Chris B, Chris H, Chris U, Cyclos, Alex, Ian, Kyle, Philip, Dave, Abilio, Nathan, Chad, and Robert. Thanks so much. You play a huge part in all the projects that we do. Special shout out to a random patron this time around is to Yuri Mazatov. Thank you so much, Yuri. And we do have some job titles. We have quite a few to give out. HR has been busy with all these new employee applications. First off,
musical episode brings all the boys to the yard.
Exactly. So our first job title is for Robert, about one of our newest board members. And Robert is going to be our lead astral travel agent. So hopefully helping us avoid any more astral travel mishaps in the future. Always good to have someone do those calculations for you. Pete Bratak is going to be our Hounds of Tindalos chief pooper scooper. Oh boy, that's quite the job.
So important.
The hounds create quite a mess. Gotta have someone clean up.
You can't have the corners of existence be poopy.
Yep. Nate Langrider is the mixing officer of elixirs and strange solutions. So, anytime you need something
That's
bubbly.
mostly because Nate is he's in charge of drinks and beverage at a game store, as I understand.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that. So that's the title we give him on the paperwork to just hide the fact that he's making drinks for us on company time.
Who's making drinks now?
Oh, hello.
No, I wondered who that was. Cracking a. Oh, wait, yeah, it's a Pepsi. You're a Pepsi guy, right?
It was a do, but I mean, same.
Okay, you're
same
much
umbrella
more
company
guy. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
fair enough. Hi, Nick.
You're alive.
Hello. I
How are
am
you?
alive. I'm well. How are you guys doing?
Excellent.
Good.
So we're just we're running through patron stuff right now.
Oh, cool.
So
Carry on, Ian.
you're just in time, Nick, to hear about Jonathan Neff's new title, which is continuing the kind of pet theme, the litter box attendant, Ulthar division. because those cats of Ulthar, they really reward you well for keeping their poop clean. I have it on good authority.
They have presence for humanity in many different forms.
And finally, last but certainly not least, Daniel Russell Hammond, you are now our... We really have a kind of a theme going on here. You are now our chief Yithian proctologist.
I'm gonna guess that's Scott had a hand in today's job titles. Just
A couple of
guess.
them.
A latex glove covered hand.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how proctology works for the Yithians, but I'm sure Daniel will figure it out.
Well, first you got to find the cloaca.
Oh gosh. Oh boy. So thank you to our new employees. I hope you enjoy your job titles. Complaints can be filed directly to HR.
Steve will receive them in the order they are, process them in the order they're received.
Yeah. Gen Con is storming full ahead of us, as mentioned earlier. It is, what did you say, 20 days away, 19 days away, something like that?
20.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So on the Saturday of Gen Con, we are having our special Mythos Busters event at 1 p.m. Please join us. Hopefully you have your ticket. If not, show up and play. And that night at the Slippery Noodle...
No. You're not breezing by without one little bit of teasing about our swag, because it's sitting from me not 5 feet. And, man, I'm so excited about it this year.
It's taunting you with its presence right now, I'm imagining.
It is. Only Skids and Daisy are stopping me from enjoying it in its full glory. But yeah, so as mentioned before, definitely stop by. Your ticket guarantees you swag. Mm-hmm. We'll do what we can for everyone else, and either way, should be a really fun event. So feel free to stop by.
Yeah.
Do we have like a room and stuff assigned yet?
We do. I just need to,
or tables rather,
go to our channel. I have it. Yeah, it's Hall C, green tables 1 through 7. So
all right,
it should be that big gaming room. If you've been to Gen Con, you'll be familiar with, and look for green tables apparently in Hall C. Yeah, it's gonna swag. I can't wait for people to see what it is, and we're gonna do our best to like capture photos of what it is when it's revealed, so people at home can experience it vicariously as well. And then that night at the Slippery Noodle, what did we say? 8 o'clock ish? Is that the time?
8 o'clock.
Yeah.
To question mark.
Sure. 8 o'clock question mark. We are having our After Dark event. So that's always a good time. Party games, drinking, chatting, all that good stuff to end Gen Con. Final things. Let's see. So our musical episode has been...
Wait, hang on. Before we move on from Gen Con, one last thing. We haven't mentioned it in a while. Mm-hmm. In our Discord server, we maintain a channel specifically for Gen Con purposes, for people to communicate, meet up for games, meals, whatever it happens to be. For anyone who is at Gen Con, wants to talk about and meet up with other players of Arkham Horror, or just listeners of the Mythos Busters podcast, they exist too. Hop into our Discord, and the Gen Con 2019 channel is up and operating. We'll be using that quite a bit as we go through as well.
Yeah, definitely. So other than Gen Con, we did, as mentioned last time, released our musical episode. That is now out to patrons. If you're a patron, hopefully you've listened to it by now or have plans to. And
man, I am so glad that the reception has been positive.
It really has.
This was such a weird thing for us to actually do.
Yeah, and it's funny because I enjoyed it, have been enjoying it a ton myself, and I'm like, is this just like being egotistical listening to our own work? But thankfully the reception has been good, and other people seem to have been enjoying it a lot too.
Yep.
So it's out. If you want to listen to it and you're not yet a patron, you can pledge at any level, even just $1 an episode, and then you'll instantly have access to it. If not, we did a set of live listening parties last Sunday, was it? And our plan is to do a couple more next Sunday, subject to change, but that's what we had penciled in. And
that's July 21st for those who don't know when we're recording this.
Yep, and we will send out exact times when we know them. But that is your chance. If you're not able to be a patron in the near future, you can hop on our Discord on Sunday and be able to listen to it. Other than that, just a small note that, we are in the middle of our next project, the Dissonant Voices project, where we're recording voiceovers of all the campaign text of the campaigns we have so far. So don't know exactly when that'll be out yet, but rest assured we're hard at work on that.
Excellent. Well, moving on from there, did we have a community highlight this week? I thought we had one, then it got removed.
The one that was left on there was from last week. I believe we
okay.
covered winging it last time. So,
Gotcha. Perfect. So, then, Nick, I'm so glad you were able to join us tonight. Let's move on.
Too.
Let's move on to the news, Ian.
Yes, let's. So, the first thing we have was announced today. So, Nick, did you want to do the honors of introducing this?
you cutting out, but I'm assuming you're wanting me to talk about the article, so let's do that.
Yeah.
Let me open the article actually here. Okay. What is this called now? Murder at the Excelsior Hotel. Okay.
Okay. now.
I know. It's no secret.
Those are those acting chops. I don't know if y'all know, but Nick is now a YouTube star.
Yeah, really? Yeah. So I'm sure a lot of you
No, I'm
saw
not letting
when-
you blow past it. Yeah, definitely go check out the FFG YouTube channel. Nick and Matt did a really fun thing that is just a joy to watch because it's just FFG having fun with their own property, and I am just such a big fan of that.
I'll grab a link for it here real quick. But yeah, so to talk about the article first, I'll get to, or should I do the video first? We'll talk about the video first. Yeah, so I had been working on this article and we had finished it up a little while ago, and then Brooke, I forget her last name, but she works for FFG, Brooke Robinson, the marketing coordinator, reached out to me, and she said that the scenario is a really cool one, and she wanted to do something that's relatively new. I don't think they've done something quite like this before for any of their other products. And
Wait,
Matt was
hang on. I think we skipped the part where we announced that Nick was the co-designer
Oh my
of a standalone scenario for Arkham Horror, the card game. In case you missed it.
That's kind of an important piece of information.
I mean, it might be where we want to start.
I just got done rehearsing for the next show. I literally just came home. I said hi to my wife and then came downstairs to record. So I apologize if my brain's a little fried.
You're good. We're caught up now.
So I co-designed a standalone scenario called Murder at the Excelsior Hotel. And part of the marketing for that was to do a video, kind of in the style of like a BuzzFeed Ghost Hunters style video that Matt and I largely improv'd. And I'm trying to get the link for it, and now I can't seem to find it. So if one of you guys can grab it to pop it in chat, that'd be great. But I'm sure that most anyone who likes Arkham enough to listen to this podcast has seen it, because once it hit, I made sure I shared it a lot, and I know it got shared to our Facebook page and everything. It was super fun. It's really sad that Matt didn't make it out of the recording session, and now he's still missing to this day. So if anybody sees him, please let us know. Hashtag where is Matt, I think, is the hashtag that we've been using. So, so yeah. But other than that, I co-designed a scenario called Murder at the Excelsior. I don't know how much you want me to, like, do you want me just to talk about what's in the article? I don't know. I don't want this to be like, well, my design process started with, you know what I mean? So I'll let you lead this and I'll fill in.
Sure.
Yeah, well, I mean,
This got a lot more awkward than I expected, so I'm just going to recede a little bit.
probably covering the terms of your NDA beforehand would have been helpful, but yeah, let's cover
Well,
let's cover what's in the article at least.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. We don't have to do the in-depth thing. We can grill you at a future time.
Let's
and
do
place.
the in-depth thing after everyone's actually seen and played it, because like
Yes.
Perfect.
we don't know anything. Like Nick knows everything. He's been mum on the whole process. So
Yeah, and generally we don't go over scenario stuff too much, but it's uniquely exciting because one of us designed the thing. So what we know so far, just from the article, is that this is a standalone scenario pack, which we haven't gotten one of these since, what was the last one? Arkham Knights. And this is essentially taking place in a hotel. There's some kind of murder mystery going on, and one of the main things that the article is promising is that there's lots of branching paths. I think it mentions like I can't remember. I think it's like 10 final acts or something like that. So There's a lead deck.
What, you're telling me Nick went with the complicated setup for his first Arkham scenario ever? No way.
Anyone who has played any of the Winter Winds knows that those got exponentially more complicated as I felt comfortable with like designing for the system. Like Frozen Tracks was simple, and then Stranded was a little more complex, and then the Forgotten Village was just like a blowout. And yeah, this one is a beautiful orchestra of so many different branching paths. Yeah, Ian, you're right. There are 10 individual unique resolutions or 10 unique final acts for this scenario, and
which is
it's really exciting.
Yeah, those are definitely the scenarios I enjoy the most. Like Threads of Fate is still up there as one of my favorites because of the branching paths. Like I think those kind of scenarios really give you that RP experience of like being able to kind of pursue leads and go where you want and kind of play this out. Other than that, there's some really cool art. There's a new patrol keyword, which is like, I think someone called it hunter for locations, which is a good way to describe it, where enemies are, instead of moving to a certain person, they're moving to a certain kind of location. And we also have what might be one of my new favorite pieces of art for the hotel guest, because I really want to run a caption contest for this one.
So many good opportunities for that. The art, all of the art in this scenario is amazing. I've seen every piece of it, obviously, and it's all great. I'm so happy with how a lot of this has turned out. I'm a big fan, and I'm so glad that it's making it onto the promotional art postcards that they're sending out if you pre-order this. So if you pre-order it from FFG's website, you get 4 5x7 art postcards for this. And one of them is the absolutely hideous Shogoth that I'm very excited to see. Like that, I love that art. I thought that came out exactly like I had hoped, and I'm so excited that's one that they picked out for that promo.
It's the one with the red light in it, right?
Yeah, it's the bottom center, like in the fan. Yeah, it's the one that's all eyes and teeth.
Yeah, it makes me really uncomfortable.
And like I said it should have teeth sticking out at random spots and stuff like that. And I expected like, sharp teeth, but no, they put like molars, and that's so much creepier because that implies a grinding. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Very exciting. I love the setting of a hotel for a scenario because it's so ripe for just, I think, horror things in particular. I don't know how many good horror stories have been set in hotels, but I think it's a lot. So, yeah, like we said, this won't be the last time we talk about it with you, Nick, but any last things you want to say about it?
It was a crazy premise that I pitched at Matt, and I was like, what if we do a murder mystery in a hotel? And he was kind of like, boring, and he kind of like turned his office chair away from me, and I was like, but the lead investigator is implicated in the murder, and the scenario is largely figuring out what happened and clearing their name. And he's like, okay, I'm interested. And then I was like, and their best friend's a talking pie. And he's like, great, we'll make it. No, I'm joking. That's a Simpsons reference. My biggest goals for this scenario was to make it replayable and to turn the murder mystery like trope or tradition on its head. And I feel pretty confident that it does both, that it accomplished both of those. And also, I've said it in our Discord chat, but the scenario reward, like one of the rewards that you can get for achieving certain resolutions in this, is probably my favorite. And I understand that, like, out of any standalone, and I understand that, yeah, of course I designed my favorite one, but it's so cool. Like, everything about it is so fun, and Matt had some input on it too that really kind of hit it home. And I want to go into it, but I don't want to, because I want everybody to see it and get excited. So, yeah.
Excellent. I'm so excited. Release date was unclear. Sometime in the future. Generally, these things get announced roughly 6-ish or slightly less months before actual release. Is that still accurate?
Sure.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't pay that close attention.
I think it's always a crap shoot, but so who knows?
Yeah, so hopefully we'll have this for Arkham Knights. That's my
Oh,
hope.
that'd be awesome.
Because we've got the Blob coming up for Gen Con. You know, obviously the Blob will be of interest at Arkham Knights because not everyone can make it to Gen Con. Hopefully this will be at Arkham Knights. I don't know. We'll see. Either way, super excited. So congrats, Nick.
Thank you.
Yeah, congrats.
This was a fun moment. I'm very happy for you. And for all the promotion it did for the podcast as well.
We did see a nice spike in traffic from the video and the article. So
Always nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll talk more later, for sure. The other piece of news wasn't an article per se, but our Matt, before he disappeared and has not been seen again, he was on a live stream revealing some cards from the Dream Eaters. So rest in peace, Matt. But we're going to talk about some cards you revealed. And he revealed quite a bit. He revealed a whole brand new investigator from the Dream Eaters.
oh yeah.
Yeah, so this is some doozies coming up. Our new investigator, we knew of Luke, but the other investigator, this is a green one, so I'm going to take on the investigator card at least. Our new rogue is Tony Morgan, the bounty hunter. He has 2 will, 3 intellect, 5 combat. 5 combat rogue is here. 2 agility, criminal and hunter.
2 agility rogue.
Yeah,
Sorry, no, you're not slipping by that. 2 agility and a rogue.
Fair enough. That's fair.
That's a thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to know what to do with myself with 2 agility as a rogue. You may take an additional action during your turn, which can only be used to engage or fight an enemy with 1 or more bounties on it. Elder Sign effect +2, place 1 bounty on bounty contracts. So we should probably figure out what bounty contracts does. How about Sean? You want to read bounty contracts?
Yeah, I will read bounty contracts. So bounty contracts is a null-costed signature asset. It is permanent. Tony Morgan deck only. Uses 6 bounties. Reaction: after an enemy enters play, move 1 to 3 bounties from bounty contracts to that enemy to a maximum of that enemy's health. Forced: after you defeat an enemy with 1 or more bounties on it, move its bounties to your resource pool as resources.
Very interesting.
Jankery.
Big time jankery.
Yeah.
I guess we should complete the picture and read Tony's 38 long Colt. Do you have that available, Nick, to read?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can read that. Tony's 38 Long Colt is a 3-costed asset. It has item, weapon, and firearm traits. It has the combat, intellect, and wild skill icons, and its game text reads: Tony Morgan deck only. Uses 3 ammo. I'm still unclear which one that is. Uses 3 ammo. Reaction: after you play Tony's 38 Long Colt, play another Tony's 38 Long Colt from your hand at no cost. Action: spend 1 ammo. Fight: you get +1 combat for each bounty on the attacked enemy. This attack deals +1 damage. If this attack defeats an enemy with 1 or more bounties on it, place 1 bounty on bounty contracts. And it takes up a hand.
So that's
Interesting.
That's basically his way of replenishing the bounties. And then I guess completing the picture is Tony's Quarry, which is an enemy weakness, 4 fight, 3 health, 1 evade. Humanoid monster deep 1 spawns at the location farthest from Tony Morgan, and then it's aloof. And after Tony's Quarry enters play, place 1 doom on it, then place 1 resource on it from the token pool as a bounty. So that kind of sucks that it spawns far away and is aloof, but at least it has a bounty on it. So you can do your bounty tricks on it at least. So
outside of other tricks, he only has 6 bounties to play with.
Right.
Which is a really interesting hard cap on the kind of rogue I get resources type ability.
Yeah, it's weird because, like, and obviously we haven't seen him in play, but it almost seems like this is... It's almost kind of like what Preston is doing in that Preston is demanding a certain build. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, with Tony, it's almost like his build is literally just his signatures because he focuses on bounties, not just resources. So
Sure.
I'm curious how... I mean, obviously he's going to be effective. You know what I mean? It's just more like a consistency question, I think, at this point. I like that he gets 2 of his guns. I think that's really awesome. I don't like... Well, rather, I think it's okay, but I'm not a big fan of how they're just basically Roland's 38 special, but for bounties, where Roland's gun is... It's a regular gun, but then if there's clues on your location, it's powered up. Mm-hmm. So you kind of get like almost like a 50-50 shot as to whether or not you're going to get the additional combat.
Yeah, I feel like Long Cult's main purpose is as like the bounty refiller more than anything else. So it's gonna be important to have ways to grab it quickly. It's nice that you can play another copy. You get 2 copies, but like being able to get both in your hand is gonna be a little tough just from experience playing this game.
They are sleight of handable though. Even mutated.
Yes.
But you can only sleight of hand 1.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. Which is nice, but still, like, it'd be really cool if you could sleight both of them out, like, as a single action, or as a single card. But
I feel like that reaction is almost never going to be used. Almost never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it'll be really cool when you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. His deck building is interesting, which we didn't mention, which is he gets rogue cards, of course, but you actually, this is the first investigator where at deck creation you choose either Guardian, Seeker, or Survivor, and then you get up to 10 level 0 to 1 events and or skills from that chosen class.
But not assets.
Which is very important, particularly for like Guardian. You're not getting those Guardian guns. You're locked into the rogue guns.
So Seeker is going to be like your solo class, right?
I would imagine so, yeah.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Survivor... Yeah,
I think Seeker is solo, I think Guardian is 2-player, and I think Survivor is probably flex, like 3-4 player.
Yeah, I could see that.
But just skills and events, that's so interesting.
Yeah. Guardian access gives you prepared for the worst, at least. You can try to grab those special guns. That would be something to think about.
It's really interesting. I'm excited to play around with them.
Yeah, just having a 5 combat rogue with...
Yeah, you can throw knuckle dusters in there finally.
Yeah, we finally have the knuckle dusters Gator. I thought it was going to be Michael McGlynn, but it's Tony Morgan.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the fact that he can't take the Guardian... Because if he had Guardian access, like, you'd just be playing those all day, but now you're pretty much forced to make use of those rogue weapons. And if anyone can make them good and effective, it's Tony with 5 combat.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that you're not pulling assets from your secondary class, that it's still like your primary, I think, combos, or at least your primary strategies are still going to be rogue, first and foremost. Mm-hmm. So it'll be really interesting. And you only get up to 10, I guess, of the off class even. So... yeah, this is a really interesting build.
Yeah, and I'm curious if there's going to be at least one other Dream Eater Gator who has that similar, like, select, or if that's just a Tony Morgan thing.
We'll never know, will we? Oh, wait, hang on.
I'm just curious about the bounty strategy. Like, to me, I feel like it's best just to parse out, like, one bounty at a time, so that you're getting maximum use out of his Gator ability, which is giving you extra actions to fight or engage if something has bounties on it.
Yeah.
Versus
I have to imagine, because you start with the base 6. The fact that you have 2 guns helps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Elder Sign helps, but, like, God, how many games do you go where you're just like, well, I haven't seen an Elder Sign all game.
Yeah.
Interesting.
At least his signature enemy gives you a free one.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't wait to put a bounty on a whippoorwill.
That bird must die.
I mean, it's
Again,
actually
I'll just
good
remark
for
on the fact.
It's actually good for aloof enemies because you get a free engage if it has a bounty on it.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
That's true.
That's good. That's good. Super interested to try him.
Yeah.
What other cards have we from said video stream?
So there was just one other card. It's like two cards, but they're bonded together as one. So revealed was the rogue asset, the Crystallizer of Dreams, 1-cost asset will icon. We saw part of it in the reveal article of Dream Eaters, but now we have the whole picture. It's item and relic traded. So hello, Ellie Horowitz. As an additional cost to put this card into play, you must search your bonded cards for 1 copy of Guardian of the Crystallizer and shuffle it into your deck. So kind of like adding a weakness to your deck. Reaction, after you play an event, attach it face down to Crystallizer of Dreams instead of discarding it to a maximum of 5 attached events. Attached events may be committed to skill tests as if they were in your hand. And it takes the accessory slot. Yeah. Sean, did you want to read the Guardian weakness?
Sure, I can do that. The Guardian of the Crystallizer is an enemy weakness. It has 3 combat, 3 health, and 3 evade value. I don't know why I hesitated on that one. It has the monster trait, Bonded Crystallizer of Dreams. Hunter, Prey, Investigator with a Crystallizer of Dreams only. Guardian of the Crystallizer enters play exhausted. And then Forest, if there is no Crystallizer of Dreams in play, set Guardian of the Crystallizer aside out of play.
Huh.
So not a crazy enemy. Oh, sorry, and last and probably the most important part is the threat the enemy poses. It deals 1 damage and 1 horror.
Yeah, it's not insane. It doesn't have any like special ability or something that it's doing to you.
So first, divorcing, which is stupid because they're bonded cards, but just for a moment, just for a moment, let's divorce the Crystallizer of Dreams from the Guardian. The Crystallizer itself, it seems good. Like, there are a lot of events that a lot of people will want to play, particularly like your Safinas, where they have decent icons, and it'd be cool to have those accessible to you.
Yeah, I think any investigator who's playing a lot of events, I think that can be quite powerful, especially if you're being careful about your event choices, like having those cards with like double intellect icons, double will icons, double agility, and all of a sudden you're able to not only play the event but commit the skill at some point. Commit the icons.
Rogues tend to be event heavy in general. Like a lot of rogue power, at least from how I play them, seems to really lie in their events. And not only that, but I think they have a pretty good number of events that have double icons.
Yeah.
I like this a lot. And especially in someone like Tony, who can only take events and skills from his off class. It makes you kind of, like, if you include this in him, that kind of makes you look at your events a little bit more weighted towards the skill icons, like I was chastising Sean for doing during our last deck building. So, yeah.
So by itself, I think it's a pretty decent card. I think this is the sort of card that really affects your build, though. This isn't just like a splash anywhere type card.
No, I don't think so.
Like, Diana would love this, except she can't take it.
Would you put this in, because it's a relic, would you put it in Ursula? I'm kind of thinking if you're going relic heavy in Ursula, you probably don't need this.
I don't know. It depends on what events she's running, I suppose. Like, and that's the whole thing, is like, you have to look at your event mix, What are you going to see early? What are you going to want to replay?
Right.
What has decent icons? Like, I don't know. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
With the Guardian, it enters play exhausted, so at least it gives you a turn to recover. 3 health is annoying, though.
Yeah, I think that's the most troublesome part of the Guardian, is just the fact that it's going to take you generally at least 2 actions to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's just like, I mean, it's kind of on par with the what is it called? The monster that it's a weakness that you draw it, and then when you kill it, it gets shuffled back into your deck.
The thing that follows?
Yes, that. It's kind of on par with that, because it's a 3 health enemy that has the potential to show up multiple times in a single game. Except for this one doesn't spawn all the way. I suppose this one spawns with you. But yeah, I mean, it's not a terrible enemy. It's just going to be a nuisance, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll be interested. The Crystallizer of Dreams is interesting enough that I'm definitely going to try it.
Mm.
Particularly in, like, Safina.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wait, how does this work with Safina? If you painted world something, do you put the painted world under Crystallizer? Because you're playing the event,
so.
right?
Yeah, I think so.
As a copy of another event.
And problem is Painted World doesn't have icons on its own, right?
Yeah, it does. It's got willpower, agility, and a wild.
Oh, well, then there you go.
Yeah,
those
that
are good.
Seems pretty good.
Because once it attaches, it wouldn't be the copy anymore. It would be Painted World. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Love it. Okay, cool. Fully excited. Half-mast. All right, so moving on from there. Scott's not with us. I don't think any of us had any rules PSAs for the week, right?
I tend to avoid the rules if I can.
Accurate.
Said the new designer. All right, so then let's move it on to our discussion topic for the night. Ian, do you want to take this one away? Pretty please.
Okay, so we've reached a point in the game's life where we've gotten a good amount of the investigators from the Arkham Files, but there's still plenty out there that we haven't seen, and so we thought it'd be fun to kind of look at the investigators in the Arkham Files world that we haven't yet seen in our card game, and just do a little bit of speculation of what class that person might be, maybe what kind of abilities, what kind of signatures. So we're not necessarily like gonna take the time to design each one, because that would be like a 10-hour episode. But just a little casual discussion about what we can imagine for these future Arkham Files investigators. So we're kind of going to run through the list, and realizing that maybe not everyone will be intimately familiar with all of these investigators. But just... And
also, I just want to point out that the biggest struggle for me, at least, is going to be not naming everyone just a survivor.
That's the default. And it's funny because when I was putting together this list, I feel like there's also like a collection of investigators that kind of have really interesting occupations. And then there's a group of investigators that are really like kind of everyday occupations. So those are the ones that are really tempting to just be like, okay, survivor. Okay. So, the first one up is Agatha Crane, the parapsychologist. And what I remember from reading kind of her story in the investigator's book is she's interested in like investigating kind of spirits and ghost type activity, maybe doing some of the stuff that Nick and Matt were doing in the caves with like the gadgets, the ghostly gadgets. So with that in mind, what class do you think Agatha would fit best in?
I mean, she's totes mystic, right?
I would say, yeah, probably some blend of Mystic Seeker.
Yeah.
So parapsychologist for Agatha indicates at some point that she's like communicating with the paranormal, which generally means like the dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that technically include anything else? Do you guys know?
I'm not.
The term paranormal?
Yes. Or
Well, Google, let's see what we have. Paranormal, denoting events or phenomena such as telekinesis or clairvoyance that are beyond the scope of normal scientific understanding. So mystic.
Yeah. Yeah, super mystic. Off-class seeker, I'm fine with that. Or like some kind of splash of seeker. I'm trying to think of any trait or any theme among existing player cards that kind of go toward communicating with the other world.
Augury.
Augury's definitely there. I almost want to say Augury is like completely reserved for Jacqueline, though.
Insight. There's a nice general term.
She can take insight events from Seeker.
Just from Seeker?
What else do you need?
Well, no, I'm just saying there's a lot of Guardian insight, too.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
What would you imagine for a possible ability for Agatha? Like, because she's communicating with the dead, potentially, or spirits.
So I looked up her other, and this is probably going to be my method, is looking up these investigators in other Arkham games, because I'm not as familiar with most of them. And in not Eldritch Horror, oh no, is it Eldritch Horror? Is she in that? It says,
Yeah.
I don't recognize this character tableau, but it says, after you resolve a horror check, gain 1 clue. So she's probably going to function, I would imagine, I would probably design her similarly to Agnes, but on the investigation side rather than on the damage side.
So she would like take horror to gain clues or otherwise make investigating easier. I dig it.
Yeah, maybe like your intellect or your will or whatever, you get a buff like after you take horror for the first time on a turn or something like that. I think doing a 1-to-1 when you take a horror, gain a clue might be a bit too much, especially with how much voluntary horror mystics can do to themselves. But I guess if it's limited to maybe once per round, that wouldn't be too bad. I don't know. But yeah, something like that. Something on the investigation side, but kind of like a mirror to Agnes's ability.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Joyce investigator from Stranger Things that Sean actually suggested the ability for back in the day. I can't remember the exact text, but basically she takes horror to lower the shroud of a location. So maybe something along those lines could fit for Agatha.
I dig.
I like it.
Okay, we can move on to the next ones. Amanda Sharp is the student. That is very broad because students do lots of things. I mean,
That
on the
sounds
surface,
pretty yellow to me.
On the surface, it's like seeker, right? Because you're seeking out information. But this one kind of screams to me like what we saw with Tony Morgan, where you like select a class and like she's selecting her major, and what is she gonna major?
I agree. She almost seems, I would imagine, kind of Lola-esque, but more fixed, I guess? Like,
Sure.
like you make the choice early on and you stick with it. I also think like anything that targets the Miskatonic trait, I feel like has been... There seem to be a few investigators that maybe the Miskatonic trait should have been used, because it's on a bunch of cards. So it seems pretty pertinent to Amanda.
Yeah, especially accessing those professors and with the Miskatonic trait. There's a bunch of them.
And higher ed.
Yeah, higher. Yeah, she should be able to take higher ed, hopefully. Yeah.
So Amanda in Eldritch Horror, her abilities center around talents, so conditions, positive boons that stay in play for you, and then her skills. So basically you can ditch your boons or your talents or whatever to improve your skills, and conversely, when you would improve a skill, you can choose instead to gain a new talent. So would she... I kind of like the idea that she would be looking for those skill boosters, like the Sean calls them the mercenary assets. But granted, we only have... Well, I suppose we have 3 of them for I keep thinking seeker, but if you're making her more of a modular or like a pick your flavor, then you have access to probably a wider variety of that.
Yeah, I wonder too, like if she's a student, like the defining aspect of a student should be learning well, like if her ability.
I was going to say debt.
That too, that could definitely be her weakness. Student debt. That her signature maybe, or her ability, or somehow would actually revolve around making it easier to get XP, or somehow involved with XP in some way.
Well, at the very least, she should be able to take higher ed.
So
That's what
definitely seeker primary class, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be very interested because I'm actually looking at her skill allocation in Eldritch, and it wouldn't necessarily translate into particularly high intellect in Arkham. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which is I'm wondering how this one is going to pan out, because this is one of the ones I looked at or initially like, what the heck can we do with this? Bob Jenkins, the salesman.
Oh boy, Rogue.
Rogue, yeah.
Yeah, definitely Rogue.
Yeah, I could see Rogue, because
Has he not been in a game since Arkham 2nd Edition?
he's in Mansions, I'm pretty sure, because
He's got a card in Eldritch. I'm looking at the Eldritch list here because it's the one game I know pretty well.
Gotcha.
If I'm remembering the Mansions one, because I used it recently, he was actually super good for that particular scenario, because his ability had to do with interacting with people. So every time you interact with people, you can get rid of horror, I think, in some way is his ability in Mansions.
Sure.
Or perhaps after you use a parlay action, you gain resources or something like that.
Yeah.
I think parlay is common enough. Well, that's tough.
Yeah.
Because then there'd be some scenarios where it'd just be like useless. You know what I mean? Unless his signature allowed you to parlay with enemies that didn't normally have parlay.
Yeah.
You know
it would have. I mean, it almost would have to be like a permanent, almost like Tony's or Preston's, that lets you parlay.
Or like a 3-copy.
Yeah.
Like a 3-copy event. Silver Tongue.
That would be really interesting, though, giving you a way to parlay with enemies that's not broken, but that's that he'd be the ultimate fine clothes user at that point.
Right.
But he seems kind of Preston without the money to me. So like I like, if instinct to me says main class Rogue, off class, or like selective cards from Survivor.
What if it was main class Rogue and then up to level 3 cards that gain resources?
Cool. that would be a lot of them.
That would be a lot of them. Maybe like up to level 1.
Interesting.
So then he couldn't take... Well, I've had worse. Like, I'm looking at his stats from Arkham 2nd Edition, and speed and fight are his big ones, but sneak is bad. So, and his lore is bad, so that would tell me like his will... Oh no, he has good will. That would tell me like his int would be probably pretty low, and his agility might be like a 2 or a 3. So yeah, so he's like a scrappy Preston.
Like he gains like +2 skill value when parlaying.
Ooh. I guess another route to take too would be like if somehow he facilitates exchanging stuff between investigators. I don't know what that would look like, but like if he's a salesman, somehow he's facilitating sales between people. That wouldn't be too great for solo.
Like he just he just has built-in teamwork.
Yeah. That would be... I'm actually interested to see what Matt does with some of these, like, just kind of everyday jobs, like I was mentioning, and turns them into something. Speaking of which, our next investigator is the butler, Carson Sinclair. And I believe he's
Carson, bring the car around.
I believe he's only in mansions. Is that correct?
He's got stats in Eldritch.
Okay, so maybe he's in Eldritch as well. I don't remember. Oh yeah, that's right.
I feel like Eldritch has like everyone at this point.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Safina.
Is this... I'm going to post something in chat. Is this the Mansions player card? Or is that...
Yep.
Okay.
No, that's...
All right, I've never...
No, wait.
Elder
That's
Sign.
Elder Sign.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, so Eldritch, he lets you perform a trade action. So actually what I was talking about with Bob, which is helping trade stuff for the butler. That's interesting.
He seems like he'd be a very supporty type character, right?
Mm-hmm.
He feels to me like he would be one that you would only really play in 4-player. Like, talk about built-in teamwork. I think that would be Carson.
Yeah.
You'd only play him in 4-player when someone else is playing Preston.
I would imagine, I'd say, like, Survivor,
Guardian.
and then maybe... Yeah, wow, it's interesting. I like the idea of shuffling items around, but I also kind of think he'd be more useful if he had almost like a Joey the Rat or Charles Ross Esquire type ability, where he helped just facilitate, get them in play. Maybe not trade them, but just he can slap stuff on the table faster. But that might actually be too powerful.
What if at the beginning of the game you choose another player and that player is your like retainer for the game? And when you're at the same location, you get some kind of cost reduction or stat boosts or
the Frodo to
or,
your
like, you're just
Samwise.
like, yeah, exactly. You just like plan to be a fucking sidekick.
What if that was his signature, and then you could like spend some sort of cost to move it to another player? Then,
Interesting.
Yeah, his mansion's ability
Contract
was...
renegotiation.
His mansion's ability was basically giving another investigator an action, so like guidance on a stick. But
this is my guidance stick. Whack. That way. All right. No, yeah. I now that once I said that, I really like the idea of having an asset that he just slides to another player. Like when he's at a location, he spends an action and just like, yes, sir. And then you just slide the asset over to them. Maybe that's the name of the asset is yes, sir.
yeah,
that would make for some interesting interactions.
Yeah, for some of these, like Carson and Bob, it's interesting because in other games, like say Mansions, it's kind of designed that you're not going to have just one investigator. Like even solo, you're using 2 usually. So they can create these kind of abilities that don't necessarily need to work for just one player. But do you guys think they will ever create an investigator that's like only multiplayer ability?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Like strictly, yeah, I think that's more likely than making one that's totally useless in multiplayer. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I definitely think the odds are higher that we see multiplayer designed investigators before solo specific designed ones.
Yep, I agree. I think this is... I mean, and there's no specific design intent that's ever been stated to this effect, but I think this is primarily a multiplayer game that you can play solo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, like, those are all cool ideas we were discussing, but then in my mind, trying to contort it to fit, like, solo, it doesn't quite work, especially for the butler, so...
It would just need a secondary ability that only triggers like while you control it. Mm-hmm. Like if it were an asset that you can slide around, like maybe it's lone wolf then while you have it or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, cool. And we said Survivor, I think was the consensus on Carson.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably.
Okay, this is an interesting one that people endlessly speculate about. This is Charlie Kane, the politician.
For president 2020!
Charlie has to be rogue. Like, I don't care. People were like, oh, maybe neutral. No, he has to be rogue. Like, the whole idea of a greasy politician. Like, no, he has to be rogue.
I personally lean rogue on Charlie as well.
Yeah. So his whole thing in Eldritch was gathering items and then like Western Unioning them to people across the board. Well, no, Western
Basically.
like FedExing them across the table.
Yes.
Yeah.
FedEx.
Yeah.
Pony Expressing.
So it kind of puts him in the same camp as Carson. And also, like you kind of said, Ian, he gets a lot of fan designs.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen some that focus on ally play as well,
Right.
that kind of make him into like almost like a Leo style character. One person in our Discord, I'm going to see if I can pull that up. I actually thought it was interesting, the design that they did. Where are the custom player cards on here? They did like he has an ally deck that he can pull from and put one into play for free and then lose it at the end of the round. I think that might be a little too powerful. Especially because in that build he had access to all levels of allies, and I think maybe if it was like level 0 or maybe level 0 to 1, like you'd have to limit it because allies are the strongest asset in the game, almost bar none. So
I almost think that his deck building restrictions, and I agree that his primary class would be rogue. I think he'd have generally probably 4 intellect, and he should be able to take level 0 events from any class that have a parlay action.
okay,
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like persuasion, or I guess interrogation's kind of a little bit, I don't know.
but that doesn't have a parlay action. That is a fight, doesn't it? Or is it parlay?
I think interrogation's parlay.
Not. It's in my new Roland deck, and I can't even remember what else.
I'm gonna look now.
Interrogate.
Interrogate is a parlay action.
It is parlay. You're right. So there's like 3 of those.
Something like that. It's not very many. Ideally, in the Charlie Kane box, we would get a few more.
Right.
But I love the idea that Charlie Kane like always takes fine clothes, like auto include always fine clothes.
Or maybe his signature is his own suit or something. Or a cigar. It's interesting because Leo kind of has that ally-focused ability, but I don't think that necessarily means no one else can. I think it just means that it would have to be an ability that's not focused around, like, making it easier to play them, because that's Leo's shtick.
Right.
But,
yeah, Leo's kind of like feed them to the meat grinder. And
yeah.
I think you'd have to find a different angle for Charlie.
This would be somehow making people's allies better, or like stat boost if you have allies, or just something along those lines, I think would work for Charlie.
I don't know. I just hope that he's not nearly as overpowered in this game as he is in Eldritch, because dear God, if you're ever playing a party without Charlie Kane,
you feel it.
Yeah.
you could be doing it better.
It's like whole strategies just built around camping Charlie in certain locations. Just sending out stuff everywhere. Yeah, I know some people have mentioned potentially him being a neutral, the other neutral investigator, but yeah, I think I see him more as rogue. Okay, let's move on to the next investigator who was introduced first in Eldritch, I want to say. This is Daniela Reyes, the mechanic. So a newer investigator to the Arkham Files.
What does she do in Eldritch? The first time I remember seeing her was she was the promo for Arkham 3rd last year.
Yeah, that's right.
I was going to say that's my only experience with her is there.
In
is
Eldritch,
Arkham 3rd.
she can spend resources to gain clues.
And in Arkham 3, when you gain resources, one of her skills increases. So she's the blue collar investigator.
Right.
So Survivor with decent combat.
The funny thing is, Arkham 3rd, because they have those role definitions on the back of the card, they put her as rogue. They put her as rogue first, Survivor second.
Interesting. I mean, and those rules don't exactly match one for
Sure.
one because the games are just a little bit
No.
different. But that is interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if any of those types of abilities really speak to me, and I feel like in Arkham LCG, I feel like it would have to be something a little more creative, like she's the mechanic, so is there somehow we can integrate something around fixing things, improving things?
What if, okay, what's, let's see, tool... That'd be cool if she had, like, tool play, but I don't know how many tools, like, survivors have access to. Something like you can, as an action, you can put a tool, or you can play a tool from anybody's discard pile. Something like that. Like, she's fixing a broken shovel. Pfft, boring. But you know what I mean. You get my...
Well, maybe pulling tools from your discard pile and repairing them is a way she could go.
Mm-hmm. If only there was a motorcycle card.
God, no, we need
only.
vehicles. More vehicles, please. Yeah. That would be amazing to have motorcycle and yeah.
Yeah, she's a tough one.
Yeah, that's a really...
She's also listed as high will-powered, so...
I think her int would be her lowest. Because looking at her Arkham third, all of her stats are 3s, except for observation is a 1.
Observation's a 1 in Eldritch 2. Alright.
Cool. So, let's move on to the next one, which is another bit of a toughie, although I think it has interesting possibilities. Daryl Simmons, the photographer.
Well, Hawkeye folding camera.
I was just gonna say, that's our only, like, example of some sort of photography mechanic. So what does
So what
that
we
do?
have so far from that is gaining a bonus from discovering the last clue from a location.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of increases as you get more, like, building over time.
Right.
Well, what class do you think? Is that Seeker, like, going along with Rex being a reporter?
I kind of like him in Seeker. Like, I kind of think that fits the best.
I think I'm trying to remember. I don't think I've read his story specifically in the Investigators of Arkham.
What?
Yeah, I'd say Seeker unless there was some special thing he's doing with his camera, then maybe Mystic.
Yeah, from this little blurb here I have, it says he just encountered some kind of horror on a fateful night, and he's resolved to capture photographic evidence to prove what he saw. So yeah, that sounds like Seeker to me.
What if, because, okay, this is going to be broken. I know that already. But we're just spitballing. What if he was a Seeker whose ability on his card was basically premonition, but only for investigation tests? Because photography is all about, like, capturing a moment, you know what I mean? So what if, so maybe not like premonition, but almost like, it would almost be like, action, investigate, draw 2 tokens instead of 1, choose 1 to resolve, seal the other on his card, and then the next test you perform has to use, or maybe like next investigate that you perform has to use the seal token or something like that. I like the idea of him sealing on himself because the idea of, like, he's snapping a picture.
Right, yeah, I think something to go along with, like, capturing the moment, capturing info.
And then he could have, his weakness could be like, while there's a token sealed on him, you know, bad shit happens. And if there's no token, shuffle it back into your deck, you know, something like that.
But it's funny because some of these are going along with my Stranger Things investigators, because I had Jonathan Byers, who, if you remember in the first season, he was all about taking pictures. So the mechanic I came up with is a little, like, wonky in terms of memory. I would probably revise it now, but basically, like, after, I'm trying to remember what it is. He has a camera after you, I think it's after you defeat an enemy or after an enemy is defeated at your investigator. basically every time you encounter that same title of enemy, you get bonuses to your stats because it's like you captured what they're doing and their weaknesses. I'd probably find a way to make that less like memory intensive, but
what if? Okay, here we go. Looping it back to the Hawkeye folding camera or whatever it's called, Hawkeye folding thing. What if it was what if it was, and we're getting a little too in the weeds on this ability, but it's just so interesting.
I like this.
What if it was reaction after the last clue is discovered off of your location, seal, I don't know, 0 from the bag on Daryl Simmons, and then he had action or reaction. When you would draw a token from the chaos bag, you may instead resolve the sealed token. That's still really powerful, but something like that. Mm-hmm. So then it plays with the whole idea of pulling the last clue, and then using the information from that to help you in the future.
Right. Yeah, it could even be something like we saw in kind of a small minor spoiler for a TCU scenario, so close your ears for like 30 seconds if you don't want to be spoiled. But in one of the scenarios, they use chaos tokens that aren't in the bag as keys. So I wonder if he could do something similar to where he's grabbing like chaos token to represent pieces of evidence.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a fun one. On the surface, you're just like, photographer, that's boring, but I think that you could come up with something very mechanically cool. All right, here's another interesting one. Dexter Drake, the Magician. Mystic?
That sounds pretty purple to me.
Yeah. Call me crazy, but this guy bores me.
Is there a reason why?
Because it's literally like it's almost like it's Job, but in the Arkham universe.
Sure,
but he's
it's a little
not,
too on the nose.
But he's not. Yeah, but he's not cool enough to be like. He's almost like if he were like bumbly and crazy to play, like that'd be interesting. But it's. And I know I like Monterey Jack, and nobody's more on the nose than fucking Cheese Guy, but that on the nose is an archetype that I'm like, yeah, pulpy action hero Indiana Jones is awesome. Dexter Drake is an archetype that I'm like, meh.
Yeah,
I don't find anything offensive about him.
I don't think he's offensive. I just think he's boring.
Yeah. I mean, so his whole backstory is he was like a soldier in World War One, and then went from being a soldier to a stage magician, which,
as you do,
I have to say, is a landing that I don't think many people could stick. So good on him. But I understand where you're coming from, Nick.
Yeah. He would have to do something different because, like, Akachi, say, has power because she's actually in tune with, like, the mystical world, whereas Dexter kind of, I feel like, stumbled into it. Like, he was just a fake magician, as far as I understand, and then he kind of stumbled into real power. So, like, I feel like he's kind of the inverse of Safina. Like, Safina's the green investigator who does purple things, and like I feel like Dexter would be the purple investigator that does green rogue things, because
I like
he should have some access to like tricks, illusions, to represent.
Sleight of hand is literally a card
right,
in green.
Exactly.
So.
Like he should have access to. He should be the kind of slippery, tricksy mystic, I think.
I like that premise. I don't really have much else to add other than that.
Yeah, I don't know what his ability would be really, but yeah, something along those lines. All right, moving on. This one I honestly don't know what to do with. This is George Barnaby, the lawyer.
Ooh, a lawyer. Well, we already have a lawyer, and his whole thing is playing items.
He looks like he's sitting on the other side of Silas's ship. Yep,
he does.
Nick knew where I was going.
Yep, I totally did. All right, what does he have? In Arkham 2, he had, when spending a clue token to add to a skill check, you may add +1 to the result of his rolled dice instead of rolling an extra die. Okay. That would not translate at all into Arkham card game.
In Eldritch,
And then you
you
may spend-
test influence, and for each success, another investigator can discard a debt or detained. So, literally helping them with legal trouble.
So, what if he played with weaknesses,
Yeah, I was
like specifically
thinking that.
like non-enemy weaknesses? Yeah.
Like, helps kids with his hospital debts.
Yeah, exactly. Or like Roland with the cover up.
Yeah.
Like that's where my mind went to meet, of course, because they're all Nick and Roland. But like I think that'd be really cool. What would he be Seeker? Are all these guys Seeker?
I don't know. An attorney to me seems a little roguish.
Rogue.
Let's see. Let me
Rogue.
look through his backstory.
I think like rogue, seeker, survivor is kind of his general wheelhouse.
So he's Finn,
Yeah,
but maybe like a Seeker main.
but like
Finn.
one agility.
I like it.
Yeah, I do really like the idea of a weakness-focused investigator because I don't know who else would do that, and it's something that like every investigator obviously thinks a lot about how they're going to deal with their weaknesses. So,
So this guy would be standalone empowered because then everybody would be like, he'd be like, yeah, bring your 49 experience decks because, your weaknesses are my food, essentially.
Yeah, it would have to be designed in a way that it doesn't totally nullify them, but somehow he's like able to take actions to deal with them or like gather them under himself. Something like those, along those lines.
Excellent.
I guess he could be more interesting than I initially thought. After George Barnaby, we have Gloria Goldberg, the author.
Got so many. Like it's so tough to go off just the occupation.
Yeah, you kind of have to look
She'd be
at
Survivor.
their story a bit. Yeah. You're saying Survivor, Nick? Yeah.
I think she'd be Survivor. Probably have Seeker. Well, see, again, I'm leaning Seeker. But
Let's see, I'm looking at her story. So most of her life, she's experienced vivid lifelike dreams of abominations. As she became older, she channeled those visions into her writing.
I feel like she'd have a higher intellect and willpower, low combat and agility.
yeah.
Do you think she'd be someone who plays around with tomes? Being a writer?
Maybe. I'm trying to think about like how to encapsulate the act of scribing a story, specifically one that's inspired by terrifying dreams, into a fucking card game.
I know.
At the beginning
And
of the game, choose a tome. This tome is your magnum opus.
I was thinking like you start with like just a basic tome card that's like level 0, but then maybe she, as part of her signatures, she has like 3 upgrade cards that that's getting too convoluted, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's potentially interesting upgraded signatures. Like signatures that
Yeah.
upgrade isn't something we've really seen.
And then you'd almost have to have weaknesses that do her weaknesses would almost have to do the same thing. You know what I mean? Otherwise it would be too imbalanced. I'm not sure. Something with taking horror or drawing treacheries. Maybe when you draw a treachery, she can do something. I don't know.
I still think tomes and the author go together somehow.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah,
That's good to know.
That's a tough one because I feel like I'd have to delve into her backstory more. Like has these visions. So is she writing down in advance? Like are they giving her foreknowledge, or is it helping deal with horror somehow? Because it says she's channeling the visions into writing. I don't know. Yeah.
I feel like she should pair well with Carolyn. So I feel like she should be taking horror to activate her ability.
Right.
whether that's tome based or not.
Sure.
Maybe after you play a tome. Yeah, I don't know. We're getting too far in the weeds on this. We can't do that for every investigator.
Okay.
Getting too far into the hide-wasted plants, not entirely unlike
Hank Sampson the farmer.
Oh my god. Who is this guy? Okay, here we go.
The farmhand, I guess, is what he is sometimes called. I remember him from Eldritch being really good at getting rid of monsters, just kind of like a brute force type investigator.
In Arkham 2, he ignored the first horror check when fighting monsters.
So he's just kind of the gung-ho guardian.
Yeah.
With maybe low sanity, but some way to guard against horror.
Mm-hmm.
Off-class survivor, probably?
Probably, I think so.
I mean, he's a farmhand. Like, if anyone's going to be wielding a shovel...
Yeah, I kind of feel like Survivor should be his main.
That
As
could be.
a farmer?
Do you think he'd have a similar spread to, like, Yorick?
Oh, I suppose he is main and off Survivor Guardian, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe only crop traded cards.
Only need you for one more season.
Plants crops at each location. Remember that you have planted the tomatoes.
Oh my god.
It just turns into, what's that game, Stardew Valley? And just...
Yes. Totally down for that. I've been playing a lot of Stardew Valley recently. It's the best chill game ever.
All of a sudden, you're not playing Arkham anymore. You're playing a farm simulator. All right, the next one is Harvey Walters, the Professor. It's a little bit generic of a title since we have a lot of professors in the game.
I would say, didn't we already do a professor or have one with Norman?
Yeah. I think if I'm not mistaken, Harvey Walters is like one of the most OG investigators. Like, doesn't he stretch all the way back to the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game?
I believe he does.
Yeah,
Could be.
I think he's...
The art certainly looks like it's from that era.
Sure.
And he was from OG Arkham Horror, where it looked, it was basically like Candyland with monsters.
Right. Yeah, so he's the OP, the original professor, for sure. So probably a seeker, I'm guessing. The seekerist of seekers.
What does he teach? Does anyone remember, like, does archaeology? History and archaeology?
The bio I'm reading here, it says he earned his master's degree in journalism. And his journalistic career took him into the roles of mystic and psychic investigator. And now he has doctorates in history and archaeology. So he's kind of all over the place.
So 5 intellect, then.
It says...
After you successfully investigate by 3 or more, discover 3 clues. So he's just better Rex.
Super Rex!
It says there's perhaps no sane man alive who knows more about the occult than Harvey.
His ability in Arkham 2 was Harvey reduces all sanity losses he suffers by 1 to a minimum of 0. So what if he just straight up takes 1 fewer horror from enemies? Like, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, something along those lines. He's potentially able to handle the horrors better than anyone else.
I like the idea of, as the professor, like, obviously higher ed is a big card, and even in its mutated version, certain investigators look at it. But I like the idea of, like, the brainier, more cerebral investigators caring about their hand size. So this is really weird, but I feel like Harvey might be the one for this kind of ability. There was an identity in Netrunner back when I played. Oh boy, I'm referencing Netrunner. What a weird episode. Where your maximum hand size was equal to the amount of resources you had in your pool.
Right.
So like the idea that he can do this weird balance of a big hand if he's hoarding resources, but, if you ever want to spend them down, you've got to also then commit a bunch of icons or lose cards from your hand. Like, I don't know. I like the idea that kind of the more cerebral investigators would care about hand size a little bit more. So maybe it has something to do with that.
Reaction: when Harvey would take one or more horror, when he would be dealt one or more horror, you may discard X cards to reduce that amount by X.
Oh, there you go. That could work.
Yeah.
And then his Elder Sign could be like, choose 2 cards from your discard pile, return 1 to hand, and put 1 on top of your deck.
I dig.
Yeah, I like that.
That was almost too easy. Harvey, you're boring.
Yeah, I think once we hit upon the hand size, like, that's kind of, the hand is representation of knowledge, and he's supposed to be the most knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm.
So the next
Makes sense.
one is Jacqueline Fine, which we mentioned earlier, the psychic.
Yeah, so I always really liked Jacqueline in Eldritch because basically, if you're playing with more players, anytime anyone gets like a basic condition, like they're cursed or there's just a ton of basic conditions, she can look at the ultimate result and then get a clue.
That's right.
And then she can also transfer clues from one investigator to another. In this game,
That's
though,
useful.
like I mentioned, I feel like the main thing she would deal with somehow is the augury trait.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking premonition, 100%. Recall the future. I'm pretty sure that's actually just Jacqueline in the
Yeah.
art.
Oh, yeah, I suppose that does look like her.
Dark prophecy. Like
Dark Prophecy.
I like the idea that after you do an augury thing, that she gets some kind of bonus or draws a card or gets a resource or something along those lines.
What if, after you play an augury... Wait, no, never mind. I was going to say, what if she could, like, almost resolve the augury a second time, but as if another player played it? But I think some of those just wouldn't translate well. Like, because some of them are like Dark Prophecy or Premonition. Those are so specific on the tests that you're doing. And what if 2 players played Premonition at the same time? Which token would be resolved on the next pull? You know what I mean? Like, Eric in chat says scrying. That's where my mind went first
Yeah.
immediately as well. Like, what if it was just investigator deck scrying?
What if I told you that scrying lacked the augury trait?
I know, I was just looking at
Yeah,
that.
right?
Oh my god, okay, so I said the augury trait, just kind of assuming it would mean something. We've already mentioned all the cards that have the augury trait. Dark Prophecy, Premonition, Recall the Future.
I knew it was only a few of them, yeah.
That's it.
I mean, because we've seen similar things where they call out specific parts of the text, like, it should be possible to give her an ability that plays off of looking at the encounter, any effects that look at investigator deck or encounter deck, like she does something based on that.
What if her signature let you look at the backside of the current agenda?
I mean,
Like,
I feel like
look
there's
at the back
nothing
of the...
stopping you from doing it as is.
Well, right, but you know what I mean? Like, that would be interesting. Because the whole idea is, I mean, it would be totally useless in non-blind playthroughs. But, yeah, take 100 horror, Eric says. Hang on, guys, let's just see what happens if I... Oh, no!
Don't do it. I mean, it could be something as simple as, like, additional action for stuff that looks at investigator or encounter deck. Or maybe you look at the top card of the encounter deck, and if it has... And maybe it's more of a risk-reward thing. Like, if it's this type of card, then you gain something. And if it's a different kind of card, then you take horror or something along those lines.
I don't know. All the augury traded cards in the game thus far they're just straight token manipulation or token play. So I have a feeling that's where it would go from here. If we ever get Jacqueline.
Probably will. She's one of the more, like, prominent investigators that stands out, I think. Speaking of prominent investigators that stand out, I think this one would be interesting. Kate Winthrop, the scientist. Seeker.
Featured on Strange Solution.
Mm-hmm.
The art of the card.
So in Arkham 2, her ability says gates and monsters cannot appear in Kate's location due to her flux stabilizer. So what if her signature item is something that literally prevents enemies from spawning at her location? Maybe like it has charges, and it would be like reaction when when a non-elite enemy would spawn here, remove a charge, and I don't know, not discard it, but
Put it at another location.
Yeah. Or maybe set it aside, and then when the flux stabilizer runs out of charges, all the enemies come back.
Woo!
Yeah, it should be like somehow unstable, and then eventually fizzes out on you. Yeah. This is another one where maybe her signature is actually something that you have to research akin to like a strange solution or something.
That would be really cool. Like, you have to construct the flux stabilizer.
Right. Or in more advanced forms of it.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea that a signature card might be something that's immensely powerful, but not until like scenario 3 or 4 of a campaign.
Yeah. It's like initially the
interesting.
other investigators are like, stop working on that thing, you're wasting your time, and then she pulls it out in scenario 5 or whatever.
And then again, you'd have to have weaknesses that scale. Like, you'd have to have like 2 weaknesses, one for when you're still working on it, and one for when it's made. And using the example that I said about the charges and all that, I could see her weakness literally being Revelation, remove 1 charge from flux stabilizer, shuffle this back into your deck.
Right. Okay, so this next one I'm really excited to see at some point. That's Lily Chen, the martial artist.
Yes!
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's definitely Guardian for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Is she?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is she not our like first high fight seeker?
For me,
I
think
think-
she's...
Isn't martial arts all about like long form study?
It is,
Well, yeah.
but I think because of her story, at least from what I remember, she's kind of like Buffy. She's like the chosen one of her generation that's chosen to defend the world. The monks believe the great evil is at hand, and Lily is brought to begin fulfilling her destiny of basically defending the world from the evil.
Very well. So Lily was my first Eldritch Horror investigator ever. I have a very deep fondness for Lily. So her ability in Eldritch is that when she improves the skill, she can improve it twice. So she's like really good at learning to be better at things. So translating that to the card game, I feel like Min probably has the most analogous ability, kind of, in a way.
What if Lily was, after you commit a card to a skill test, choose one of the icons on that card, you get +1 to the chosen skill for the remainder of your turn. So, like, you commit a vicious blow, and then you get +1 combat for the rest of your turn.
That could be quite interesting.
It would have to be, obviously, a limit, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But then that would kind of put an extra use on those cards that have, like, 3 different skill icons at 1 each, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Or you just go ham with wilds.
Yeah, the way Mansions does it is she gets a bonus to unarmed attacks. I wonder if that would be too powerful for this game to basically have unlimited, like, 2 damage attacks, unarmed attacks, but
Probably.
maybe
I
some
feel like
kind
a-
of signature, like, fighting style could work.
Yeah. An asset that you put into play and then exhaust to use, but it basically lets you, 45 it, but without the 45 or
Right.
something. You know what I mean?
Cool. So, in the interest of time, we can kind of blaze through these last ones, or as best as we can blaze through. Mandy Thompson is the researcher. I honestly usually forget she exists, like, because like, we have the student, we have some other academic characters. I'm not sure how Mandy is differentiated exactly. Probably a seeker, I'm guessing.
Probably.
Yeah, some kind of. I don't.
So what's interesting is that in Eldritch, her observation is higher than her lore. Which, in this game, they're kind of combined. Like, I feel like intellect is a combination of lore, influence, and observation from, like, if we're translating directly from Eldritch. So I feel like she'd be like a 4. I don't know. She'd probably have do something with Miskatonic.
I think she'd probably look for clues at your location.
like all investigators?
No, not like literally look for them. I mean, obviously, but I mean, like, I think her ability would trigger off of clues on your location.
Oh, okay. Like information to be found.
Exactly.
Her story is apparently all about she's a master of researching occult text. I mean, that kind of says tomes, but maybe she's also has some kind of ability to help, like, researching glyphs and that kind of thing, and maybe she gets more of that kind of thing. Maybe she's like the I don't know what to call those, like, strange solution and glyphs. The researchable,
unidentified and untranslated.
Unidentified. That's it. Yeah, maybe she interacts with those somehow.
I think Scott referred to them as side quest assets. I really like that.
She's the side quests. Gator, maybe. Okay, next one is Michael McGlynn, gangster. I mean, rogue.
I mean, isn't he just Skids?
Well, Skids is kind of like the reluctant, like, reformed ex-con, and McGlynn is like the muscle gangster,
the one who embraced the
enforcer,
life.
Yeah. So he's probably another 5 combat rogue.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
I think
there's probably, I mean, I guess gangster versus bounty hunter, there are definitely ideological implications there, but just on its surface, it doesn't seem like he'd be that different from Tony.
I think he wouldn't have. I think Michael would be much in concept. I think Michael would be much easier to play or more straightforward to play than Tony.
That makes sense.
Yeah, maybe he just plays with ammo somehow and just goes ham on enemies.
Yeah,
just a straightforward fighter. All right, here's your boy Monterey Jack, Nick. Monterey Jack, the archaeologist.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, Seeker Rogue seems to fit the best. Which one would be the main one? I don't know. But let's see here. Archaeologist. Discard an artifact to reduce doom is how he works in Eldritch. So obviously relic play. I like the idea that his whip would, like, disable enemies, like reduce their fight by 2 or something. That'd be fun. He really is boring. Like, I like him because of what he represents,
Sure.
but in play I expect him to be boring.
What, really? I mean, I get that
Because it's just
I get
relic
that the trope
play.
is tired, but
Yeah.
what?
Well,
so,
I mean,
so
if
what do you
you
think
avoid-
his main class would be?
I'm torn between Seeker and Rogue. I think he'd probably be... I think it'd
be
probably
Rogue
not-
off class Seeker. That makes sense to me.
Fit, yeah. Probably have like a 3 agility, 4 combat, 4 int, and like 1 will. Oh my god, I just made Finn, didn't I? Except for
Close.
Finn's. Swap a couple of those, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think I'm more interested in how his tools, like I said, with the whip and what you could do with that. I wouldn't want to make him Relic because that's what Ursula
Yeah.
is.
What if he has some kind of cool mechanic where, like, you put things he's looking for into the encounter deck, and then as you go through the scenario, you have to assemble these pieces of the treasure map, and
Oh my god. He would be like a solo investigator because everybody else would be like, would you fucking stop? Like, quit digging in the encounter
just
deck.
not?
like, hold on,
And
I
he's-
almost got it, I promise.
The part of me that loves engine builders would
Yes.
love that. But, or what if, oh, that'd be so cool. Like, shuffle like 5 relic cards in the encounter deck that have victory points on it, but they require you to do some stupid bullshit, like run around the map. Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think that'd be a way of making him interesting, is make him go off on little side quests.
He'd definitely be the solo investigator, though. You bring him to the table and everybody just roll their eyes.
Patrice Hathaway is our next one, and she is the violinist, I believe is her title.
So, as I recall, her music opens portals to other worlds, so I'm going to go Mystic.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
It fits.
Yeah.
So that said, like, we got the preview for what Luke does.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like Patrice would be somewhat similar. Maybe, I mean, like, a mystic with high intellect, or at least decent intellect, and a really powerful mobility ability could be pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
So I dig it.
I was thinking like bardish, like inspiring your allies and stuff like that.
I think that's projecting.
Probably.
I feel like my ideas are getting more batshit crazy as we get later. But now I'm imagining like you have to hit the right notes. So you're playing her violin and you're sealing, and you have to get the correct sequence of tokens, like the freaking Ocarina of Time. And then you unleash some kind of gate or something. Oh, man.
I mean, I like it, but that sounds awful.
Yeah. It sounds like one that on paper you're like, this is amazing. And then in play you're like, this is a different game now.
Exactly. Okay. I could see her doing something with horror potentially too. Okay, we have Sister Mary. Speaking of potentially dealing with horror, the nun.
Nothing says sanctuary like a nun.
Mm-hmm. So, Guardian?
I honestly don't mind Sister Mary being like Guardian off-class mystic, and maybe also helping with weaknesses.
Oh, I was just going to say the Mirror of Diana.
Sure.
Guardian off-class mystic. I think she should have an ability that like lets you discard a terror or a madness card or something like that from your threat area.
Yeah, something along the lines of. I think she should be, because we have Carolyn
just being like a counter to treacheries.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she should have a way of like. I don't mean just literally ward of protection, but warding other investigators against bad stuff, whether it's treacheries or.
And you can't play her in the scenario Lost in Time and Space, because according to her Arkham 2nd Edition text, she can never be lost in time and space.
Wow.
That was a long walk for a bad joke, so I appreciate the follow through on the laughter, guys.
That's the Mythos Busters way. Long walk to a bad joke. Okay, we got Tommy Muldoon, the rookie cop. I guess in Guardian for that one as well.
Guardian / Survivor props.
If he doesn't get a fucking motorcycle, I am done with this game. Like when this actually gets made, if Matt makes the gun instead of the motorcycle, I'm gonna be like, Matt, you're killing me.
Ideally, you'd get both. I mean, we've had 2 signature investigators,
right?
But
I mean, given the choice,
oh yeah, I'd definitely take the motorcycle. It's not even close.
The only issue. Right. The only issue with like having a vehicle is that locations are so much more of a nebulous concept in this game than they are in like a board game. Like imagine, and I'm about to say it and I got super excited just in the thought of saying it because it's so cool, but imagine tearing through the Historical Society on a motorcycle.
Or train cars, or
I just love the idea of Mr. Peabody. Yeah, I just love the idea of Mr. Peabody opening the secret passage, then Tommy just barrels through, drops dynamite, and shoots off again. Oh, that'd be so good.
Just smashes through the window on his way out. Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm fine with a little abstraction if it gives me a motorcycle.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. If I get a motorcycle out of it, Sure.
I think that's just the thesis of our whole episode is we just want a motorcycle in the game.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and Trish Scarborough, the spy, kind of leans rogue for me.
Also featured on manual dexterity, so that would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Rogue / maybe off-class guardian or seeker.
Sure.
Like, she's an agent, so presumably what she's doing is to protect people from her home country.
Yeah, should be able to access eavesdrop.
Yes.
And interrogate. Yeah, I think Rogue, like, basically do Finn, but with Guardian Seeker instead of Seeker Survivor. I think that would fit.
Maybe some way to get clues off of enemies when enemies are present. That kind of thing. That kind of theme, I think.
Oh, sure. Like, after you evade... No, Finn is evade... No, wait, he doesn't... You get a free evade. Maybe it'd be like, reaction after you evade or defeat an enemy, you could do something to get a clue. I'm just going to say do something because it would have to be in a specific...
Right,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, it'd have to be... Because that would be too good if you're just evading everybody then sucking up clues. That'd be like, ugh, broken.
It'd be really good in solo, it turns out.
Yeah.
Okay, almost done. Vincent Lee, the Doctor. I mean, is he pretty much Carolyn for damage?
It's a pretty compelling argument.
Yeah, probably Guardian doing something around damage. I don't know. Would you feel as pressing a need to have an investigator focused around removing damage as you do for one removing horror?
No.
Not as much.
Yeah, it's weird because I think there's about the same amount of cards that remove damage as there are that remove horror now. But I maybe I just play investigators with higher health and sanity more often. But I don't know.
Yeah, maybe in Forgotten Age you'd be more apt.
Yeah.
And rounding out, we have Wilson Richards, the handyman.
What a
way to end.
The handyman can...
Yeah, I was just about to go there.
What an amazing amazing profession.
The handyman
thing is-
can because he fixes it with glue and makes the world stick together.
It's our next musical
His,
song.
his signature asset is just duct tape. And it's choose two assets. They now, like, choose two hand items. They now only take one hand slot. Oh my god, that'd be broken. Never mind, don't do that.
As the handyman, though, I like the idea that he'd have some kind
Plays
of...
with hand slots.
some kind of similar ability to, like, stick to the plan, but specifically for, like, tools or items. Like, you can throw, like, 3 to 5 items underneath him and access
Items
them.
would be too broad, but I think tools would be good. Like, if he had access to tools from... Kind of like what we were talking about with Daniela. If he had access to tools from every class...
Or, like,
then you could really...
maybe specifically items that require hand slots, and then you can limit his class. Like, he'd be pretty survivory, right?
I think
Oh,
so.
yeah.
He needs to be able to stop a
Handyman,
baseball
yeah.
bat from breaking. That's what he needs to do.
Yes.
Get
Yes.
on this.
Or if the old hunting rifle jams.
Exactly.
His ability just needs to be like ignore bullshit survivor tests.
I'm down for that ability.
Investigate successfully, then gain 2 clues at your location.
Okay. Wow.
Because, it's like, look what I found without the failure.
Yeah. No, it's literally called No, Look What I Found.
All right, I think that completes our roundup. I might have forgotten someone. I don't think so, but there's actually there's quite a few still to come. And the interesting thing, I was trying to keep a rough count, and it's actually pretty balanced between the classes if it ends up being the classes we selected.
Oh, that's weird because it felt like we said Seeker for like everybody.
All of the academic bent ones, which are a fair few because Miskatonic University.
Yeah, Seeker was definitely ahead, and Guardian was the least, I think.
I feel like we had the fewest. I feel like Guardian was the least represented.
I would agree.
As a main class, at least.
All right. Well, so moving on from there, top 3 favorites. Like, who are your top 3 that you're looking forward to?
That's because there were some that we discussed that were definitely more interesting from a thematic, like how would you make it work? Like the photographer and the lawyer, I thought were really cool. Like George Barnaby. After we talked about him, I'm like, I want to
wherever
design
your
this guy. Like,
favorites or interest comes from. What are your top 3? So I gotta go. Jacqueline, Lily Chen,
yeah, go ahead.
And then I think Charlie Kane, but I know I will never like Charlie Kane in this game as much as I like him in Eldritch, so maybe he needs to be left alone.
For me, Lily Chen, I'm gonna say Trish, the spy, and it's hard to pick the last one. I'm kind of torn between Patrice Hathaway, because I like the whole violinist story, or Daniela Reyes.
Nice. Nick?
Well, I'm gonna hit the get us a turkey here and say Lily Chen, because I've always liked her. I think she would be a lot of fun. Other than her, I've really talked myself into George Barnaby, and probably. Like, Charlie Kane I want, but at the same time, he's kind of been, like, the one that fans have theory-crafted the most. So that's kind of turned me off a little bit, simply because it's like, well, like, so many people have thought up stuff for him that now I'm fine, you know, if we don't see him for a while. But I think Tommy Muldoon just for the motorcycle. Just because I want to tear through in my house on my motorcycle.
Yeah. Oh, I can't believe I didn't say Michael McGlenn. I take it back. McGlenn is one of mine.
I still feel like he's one that's just kind of like, meh. Like, he's a gangster.
Yep.
He blows shit up, and he does it well.
I think 50% of that is just looking forward to coming up with a Spotify playlist for Michael McGlenn.
He should be someone who has really low sanity, but every time he defeats an enemy, you recover a horror.
Yeah, I think that's similar to his Arkham Third ability, isn't it?
You know, I think you're. As soon as you said that, I'm like, I think I just copied his Arkham Third text.
I need to play Arkham Third again.
Same.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
Gen Con?
It has been a while.
Okay, I'll take that as a yes.
Sure.
All right, excellent. Well, looking forward to the future of the game. Obviously, we still have several investigators yet to be announced from the Dream Eaters and, of course, then the Cycles Beyond. So looking forward to that. Guys, let's round it out with a little bit of Tentacle time. Nick, what has been grabbing you lately?
The Complete Works of William Shakespeare Abridged is the show that I'm in, and it opens next week, and that has largely been commanding my extra brain space. Although I have been strongly considering, and I probably will, now that Murder at the Excelsior has been officially announced, and that NDA is kind of like, it's less of a thing now, like I can actually talk about it. It has more of a...
Well, read it again, maybe, just to be sure.
But it feels more finalized now. Like, it's not something that I did and I'm waiting for FFG to do their end of. You know what I mean? Like, it has more of a concrete feeling of being done. So I'm looking at resuming my work on the Winter Winds campaign, which starts with Frozen Tracks and then has Stranded in the Urals and Forgotten Village. I've been theory crafting additional designs for, or rather alternative designs for the fourth scenario, The Bones of the Urals. Probably won't be till after Gen Con that I can actually sit down and hammer some of that out, but I'm excited to. So,
excellent. Ian, how about you?
The only big new thing is just made it through all of Stranger Things Season 3 as of yesterday, and quite enjoyed it. I think I liked it better than Season 2. Of course, Season 1's still the best. But Season 3 was really good. Don't want to get into it too much for spoiler's sake.
I'm like 4 episodes in.
We're 2 episodes in.
But it does remind me that I never did season 2 custom scenario of Stranger Things, even though quite a few people asked me about that. And now there's season 3 of like, do I want to take that on? I probably
No, you'll never get caught up.
I probably will at some point, because I do have the bug to make some more custom scenarios, but then it's also tough because like there's original ideas for scenarios I want to work on, but I do really enjoy playing in the Stranger Things world, and Steve deserves his own investigator card because I didn't make one for him in season 1, but he definitely has earned it.
How about Max?
And Max too, yeah.
And her like always oddly angry and aggressive.
So
ability.
would Steve's signature just be Dustin from season 2? Like literally,
just gets boosted,
and then
for
it
each
flips
child.
to the other side, and it's Dustin with hair.
Yeah, that it'd be a lot of fun to design the new characters and the old characters, how they've kind of changed over time.
Yeah.
Excellent. Like I said, I'm only 4 episodes in. So far, I'm enjoying it more than season 2, and I think that seems to be the general sentiment, is that it's better than season 2, but, I mean, God, season 1 was
Did
so
people
good.
not like season
So
2?
good.
Because I thought it was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't as good as 1, but I thought it was good.
Yeah, I liked.
I think that's
Okay.
I think that's the general idea, that it's fine. Not as good as the first one, but it's fine. And then for my part, I honestly have just been playing catch up in a lot of regards. I finally finished all of the Spider-Man PS4 DLC, so I can put that one like back in the binder for real retirement. And then I picked back up because I've just given up on Sekiro at this point. I was stuck on the last boss, and I took vacation and got rusty. And I don't know that I have enough brain space to finally beat that game, so we'll see how it goes. So for now, I've fired back up God of War, which is great. And especially now that I've played Sekiro, and that game has honed my ability to block and parry to like a laser edge, God of War is now way more fun. Because that parry mechanic is way more forgiving, and I'm way better at it now. So, yeah, anyway. Lots of fun action RPGs to be played on the PS4, I have to say. You guys, Nick, I assume you saw the trailer and whatnot for Elden Ring.
That's the George R. R. Martin from Software collaboration. Yeah, they just have a teaser so far. So I saw that, and I watched Vati Vidya on YouTube, who does all the From Software like lore breakdowns and stuff like that.
And has an oddly soothing
Yeah,
voice.
he released an analysis of that trailer, and it seems like from what he's picked apart, it's looking like it's a Nordic-inspired, Souls-like game, and he went more into it from there.
Open world, even.
World. That's the one thing that I'm unsure of, because From Software, they're so good at crafting a guided experience. Like, they're masters at it. But yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes.
But yeah, so that's where I'm at. And then also continuing through Wargroove, because there's something about turn-based RTSs that just, like, I still have never played a Civilization game, and I know I never should. But that's satisfying me for now. So, excellent. I think we're going to start to wrap this guy up. So, as mentioned earlier, feel free to throw in on that next Arbits contest. Toss us your deck or deck idea for an unplayed or unloved card by the community. We haven't heard from you guys in a really long time, so please, if someone has a comment, question, bitch, moan, or gripe, call us at the Mythos Busters hotline. That's 203-493-6984. Tell us about your wow. I'm only 3 beers in. Tell us about your Skids and Daisy campaigns. We've got a little bit of feedback. So we're storing that for now. We're hoping to get a little bit more so we can kind of have like a big full community report. So please call, email, message, whatever it happens to be. Let us know how your Skids and Daisy campaign is going. And I think, God, what else? Oh yeah, on the 21st of July, we're gonna have a couple more live listening parties for our musical episode. So, if you're not a patron or would otherwise just like to listen to our ridiculous musical episode with an audience, it's a lot of fun. Pay attention to our Discord and other social media for those times. And boys, anything else before we wrap this up?
Pre-order
Not for
Murder at
me.
the Excelsior.
Yeah.
Yes, that. Do that. Particularly if you want those sick-ass art prints. All right, excellent. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us on episode 63 of Mythos Busters. We'll see y'all next time for our pre-Gen Con episode.
Off.
Oh my gosh.
All right, bye now. I like how I rocked both your worlds in that moment. I heard it.
I'm looking at my
Things to
schedule and
do.
trying to figure out when am I gonna build decks.
I know.
Oh my god.